Between shooting Blind Spot in New York and working on The Last of Us Part 2 in Los Angeles, Ashley Johnson doesn't have a lot of time on her hands. Unless it's for me. I sat down with this magnificent woman before an episode of Critical Role, and we discussed growing up in the business, coming out of her shell, and some of the characters and projects that have meant the most to her. Also, me. Enjoy. Ashley. Strong start. Welcome.
Thank
At
you.
last.
At long last.
At long last. Okay. You gotta be careful.
Be professional. Stop it.
Imagine there's an invisible line here that you need to stay.
Okay.
Thank you for coming at last to do this.
Thank you.
This drink is a jungle bird. And it's a doozy. The
It is a
drink
doozy.
inside of here. Normally, we'll put a lime here with some liquid that stays on fire, which you'll see in the video later.
It takes a minute with these straws to get to your lips. This is delicious. It's a very strong drink.
It's
So
okay.
I'm glad we're sharing this.
I'm glad it's 9:30 at night and we'll go to bed after this.
Yes. I don't think I've ever had anything to drink this early.
You
That's not
haven't?
true.
You should try it. It's fun.
That's not true. I have. Hi.
Yeah, you have, because I was just going to
Yeah,
say.
I know.
Okay, so this combines your two favorite things in the world, me
Yes.
and talking about yourself.
Yeah, one of those things is true.
Which one?
Spending time with you.
Oh, I knew it. Oh, man.
Oh boy,
Cut
this
the
is why
tape.
we waited so long to do this.
Cut the
'cause I
tape.
don't
It's
wanna
over.
do it.
So I know the answers to most of these questions.
You do.
So should I help me with this interview? Should I
Okay.
play dumb and just ask you like I don't know? Or should, before every question, instead of a question, should I say, tell the people about...
No, because that feels like so much more pressure. Just pretend you don't know, and maybe I'll tell you something new.
Oh,
That's
I
not
hope
going to
so.
happen.
I hope so.
I think you know pretty much everything about me.
I saved your favorite suit for you. You think I was going to wear this when Bobby was here?
no.
You think I was going to give
I know
Will
this is my
Friedle?
no. I know this is my favorite suit. When you left earlier than I did this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that you were wearing a tie, so I was
Mm.
like, "Oh, I'll dress up a little bit."
Mm.
I know that that's what you do on this show.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize we were going to be matching.
I love it.
I didn't mean to. We didn't mean to do this.
Yes, we did. We spent hours. We spent hours
You're my density.
in front of the closet trying to figure out. Tell the people where you grew up.
I
You
grew
were-
up here.
You were born in Camarillo, California.
I was born in Camarillo, California. We're going way back.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so I
Going
was
back
born
24 years to the day you were born.
I was born to Nancy and Clifford,
Mm-hmm.
August 9th, in Camarillo, California. And
Why Camarillo?
My parents lived in Ventura, and when I was 9 days old, we moved to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived in Franklin, which is the town that time forgot.
Yes.
And we lived there and went back and forth for, we lived there until I was about 6. And then we came back to Los Angeles.
Came back to the West Coast.
Yeah. And we went back and forth a lot because a lot of my dad's family is still in Michigan.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons why we moved out there as well. And I think I started working when I was young, and
Mhm.
then I think after some time, my parents were like, "You know what? We should just move back here. I think we're tired of the winters,
The winters
and
in
going back
Michigan?
and forth." And
What did you like about Michigan?
I
Because you remember a lot of it for only
yeah.
being there from 0 to 6.
Yeah, I love the changing of seasons. I still do. I love cold weather. A lot of our family was there. It was, we grew up on boats out there and on the lake and the many lakes in Michigan.
mhm.
Yeah, I love Michigan and I've actually gone back there to work a lot. Done
Yeah, you have.
2 films in Detroit. I did a movie called Alleged, and then the other one I
Oh, it's
cannot
Alleged,
remember.
the period piece?
Alleged as the
I remember
peaches.
that one. He had some cool outfits in that one.
Yeah, it was fun. Nobody needs to watch it, but
No, don't watch it. But just,
I don't even know if it's available anywhere. But I don't remember what the other one was.
We've never watched it. I've never seen it.
It's fine.
It's fine?
Yeah.
I'll watch it.
No, I'm saying it's fine. We don't need to watch it.
It's fine. We don't need to watch it.
No.
Though I remember the first night that I met your mom and stepdad, they played me a reel of 3 hours of like.
It was not 3 hours, but it was very embarrassing. My mom is very proud.
It was amazing though. There was some old stuff. We'll get there.
Okay.
Don't get ahead of me.
Okay.
Yeah, you remember a lot about Michigan.
This is so funny doing this with you.
It's fun. I'm trying to remain.
Yes. Put on your interviewing persona. There it is. You got to touch that.
Which one do you
beard.
like better?
I like that one.
Okay. You remember a lot of stuff about Michigan.
I do.
While you were there, how did you end up in the business?
In Michigan, I did a lot of print work, and I did a commercial, and it kind of just it wasn't anything that I think my parents really necessarily were wanting that for us. It just kind of sort of happened.
Yeah.
And then it just was every once in a while when we were in Michigan. And
You were a cute fucking kid.
I was a kid.
You
that
had your little
that
hair.
was,
You had your little face.
I was also very sort of, which is weird. Like I feel like I was more confident as a kid than I am now.
Mm.
Because when I was little, I was like, "Yeah, what do you need me to do?" And I think that was kind of the thing of getting into print work or doing commercials. It's kind of like you need a kid to be able to do what you need them to do.
Yeah.
And I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And then when we went out to Los Angeles to visit some friends when, I was 6, I might have actually been a little bit younger than that because,
Yeah, because Lionheart?
yes. So family friends of ours were living in Los Angeles, and they their kids were in acting.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the kids had an audition. And so when we were all just sort of hanging out, my mom and our family friends, we all went to this audition, and the casting director came out and was like, "Hey, do you want to come in and read for this?" My mom was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah.
And then I walked in, and I was able to read very early. So, not to brag,
You had to.
I did.
Yeah.
So went in and did the part, and I got it. And it was a movie called Lionheart with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Mm-hmm.
And
How was he? Do you remember?
I loved him.
We have all these great pictures of your dad and him playing
Yes.
basketball in Hawaiian shorts. And...
Yes. I loved him. He was so wonderful, and was just
You played his niece.
I played his niece, and I remember I had a really great time on that set. I mean, I was so young, so there's only a certain amount of time that you can work anyway. You can't be there all day,
Yeah.
and then I think from that movie, I was requested to come audition for Growing Pains,
Mm-hmm.
and then I ended up getting that, and we still were living in Michigan.
You're still going back and forth.
We're still going back and forth. And then after some time, I think like the first hiatus of the first season that I did of Growing Pains, my parents were like, "Well, maybe we should just move back." I don't think it was entirely for me.
Your sister
but
wanted to do some stuff
yes,
too.
my
You have a sister
was
and a
also
brother.
working.
Your sister was working.
My
your
sister
your
was
brothers.
working. My sister was on a show called Kids Incorporated.
Yes, which I watched
And
as a kid
yes,
too. My
she's-
sisters made me watch it.
Yeah, she's an amazing singer, and she got on that show, and just visiting that set was a blast.
Yeah, they had that was a huge production.
Yeah,
They did a full-blown
they did a full blown
thing all the time.
Yeah, and it was so fun.
Yeah.
So it kind of became a big part of our life in a weird way, but my parents were never pushing that on us or
Trying to get all your money.
yeah, like it was like, well,
Yeah.
if you ever want to stop doing this, you stop doing it. You
Mhm.
do it, you save your money, and you go to school and save your money for when you get older. And it was
Stop doing it when you stop loving it.
stop doing it when you stop loving it. Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
That's pretty much like, yeah.
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 So I haven't yet.
You can touch me again. That was nice. Made me wait for it.
I did.
there was a baby on Growing Pains, but
Yes.
then the next season there was this like little girl.
Yes.
What happened to the baby?
I don't know what happened to the baby.
Who is the baby?
I don't know. I should know this. I should know who the baby was. But I do not.
Maybe they swapped out the baby every week.
Maybe they did.
Because I remember watching the show as a kid and going like, "Oh, they have a baby." And then
Yeah.
the next season, I'm like, "Oh, there's a cute little kid now."
Yeah. They so I
But
came
we're
in,
the same age.
I know that's really funny.
Yeah. And
I
we're
actually got onto the show in the 6th season because I think it
Mhm.
went 7 seasons. But I was on the last 2,
Mhm.
and I think at that point, they needed the writers wanted something more to work with, and so they decided to jump the show forward and have the baby be now 6 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a blast. Like I remember just that set that we were on. So it was the Warner Brothers Ranch in Burbank, California.
Yes.
And they still had the barn from Jason.
Oh,
And
that's right.
also they had the old set from Little House on the Prairie.
Mm-hmm.
And so my brother, my sister, and I, when I would not be working, we would just go play on those old sets.
Mm-hmm.
And we would just scare people in the Jason barn. My brother would hide in a closet, and then we'd, go get somebody and be like, "Oh my gosh, you got to come in here and see what's in this barn." And
Yeah.
he would come out and be like, "Brah." It was a really cool upbringing, and I feel like still my parents really made it something that it wasn't made to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't like, "Oh, you're an actor and you're
Mhm.
doing this amazing thing." Like, it was really just kind of they really helped in, with my sister being in acting and me, and my brother had no interest in it, and just trying to make us feel as normal as possible.
Make life
and
as normal as possible
Yeah.
around what you were doing.
around what we were doing. So,
Yeah, I think it worked. You can
Yeah.
tell. And you can also tell in the group of people that you surround yourself with that that's the case.
I think so. I
Yeah.
hope so. I'm pretty normal. Just kidding.
You know, when we went to Alan's memorial, it was tough, obviously, for so many reasons. He was super young
Yeah.
but having been with you for all these years and heard all these amazing stories and, to see all of you guys back together and talking about what that show has meant in the last 30 years,
Yeah.
to everyone that was involved. We've met people over the years, but that was really special. It was cool to see.
Yeah, that
It
was
was
that was
cool.
cool. And it was
Yeah.
cool to bring you to that. And I think
Yeah.
also it's really cool to hang out with all of them as an adult
Mhm.
because I know them as, a
Yeah.
little tyke.
Yeah.
So it's different conversations that you have. And Alan was such an incredible guy. And, that was my first TV dad.
Mhm.
So it was intensely sad and he's gone too soon. But it was amazing to reconnect with everybody. And so sometimes that can be a positive
Mhm.
at a funeral. Not
Yeah.
that there's a positive, but sometimes you can reconnect with a lot of people and celebrate somebody that you don't often get to do while they're alive.
Mhm.
But yeah, we had a great time, and I was really glad to introduce you to a lot of those people.
So you're 6 to 8 years old while you've got this Growing Pains gig going on. You've got this great family. You guys have so many great friends,
Mhm.
right? Your parents are trying hard to create a normal environment for you in life outside of this thing. Did it feel normal?
It felt normal. I went to elementary school and I went to middle school.
Mhm.
I ended up
Instead of just having the onset teacher thing and having that
I
be
ha-
the only thing you
having
did.
that, yeah, I
Yeah.
had that in addition to. So when you're on set, you have to do, I think it's 4 hours of schooling a day. I can't remember at this point, but
If you're under 18 or whatever it is.
yeah, you have to get a certain amount of hours per day
Mhm.
of schooling. And, so I would go back and forth. And in middle school, that got hard. I ended up homeschooling through 8th grade through, all of high school.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, at least from what I knew, it felt pretty normal. But sometimes looking back, I'm like, "Oh, that was not a normal upbringing."
Mhm.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
My parents, like, we had a party house. Like,
Yeah,
it
everybody
was
tells stories about you kids going to bed and going, "Can you guys keep it down?" to your parents, like
Yeah. Like, my
yeah.
parents would stay up. I mean, my mom still.
Your mom still stays up and
She stays
watches
up till
TV.
3 o'clock in the morning, and, we had people over all the time, and we would play music and watch movies, and it was a really fun house.
Mhm.
And when I look back on my upbringing, I'm not thinking about the projects that I did. Like, it's not measured by, "Oh, that's when I was working on this," or "That's
Mhm,
when I was
mhm.
working on this." It's more about the life experiences that I had, and I think that's a positive thing.
Those are the milestones you remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever asked you this. Do you ever regret, like, that you didn't go to high school, or do you hear stories from me and other people that went to high school and go like, "I'm so glad I missed out on all that
I
drama."
definitely do.
And
I
you still went
definitely
through
do.
all the high school clothing phases,
Oh, I
though. That
sure
one
did.
even though you weren't, like, around,
Yeah.
everyone trying to, like, you just went off and did your own thing, and then you had, like
Yeah. I think
the goth phase was my favorite,
yeah.
personally. If
Yeah.
you ever wanna go back there, no argument from
Hey,
me.
there's still it's here.
Just
I'm goth in my heart.
lots of fishnet stuff.
Yeah. It's still occasionally it comes out.
Mhm.
Um, I I do regret it because I think, like, when I was around kids my age, even from when I was little, and I think that's probably can be one of the downsides of being a child actor, is you have a hard time, hanging out with kids your own age because you're so used to hanging out with adults that you don't know how to, like, interact, and you
Mhm.
go through this, like, weird thing of, like, "What do we talk about?" And
Talison's talked about that.
yeah, it's
Yeah, it
yes, Taliesin
seems
and I have a
so hard.
so many similarities and things that we've talked about where it's like, you're kinda weird.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so hard to relate to other kids, and when you're that age, the only thing you have is the things that you relate on.
like, from the time I mean, even with, like, print work in Michigan, I've always had a job.
Mhm.
So I've always known, like, you wake up and you have to go somewhere and you go to work, and you have to know your lines, or you have to be prepared in whatever your work is.
Yeah.
So I learned work ethic at a very young age. So sometimes, like, I think my fantasy of what high school would have been probably would not have been
It's not
that.
what it would've been,
Like, I didn't
yeah.
go to prom. There's a lot of stuff that I wish I could have gone through, but that sort of last year that I was in middle school was rough, which I know middle school is tough for
Why?
everybody. I had I Oh boy. So,
We don't
I
have to
had
show
to wear
pictures. We don't have to show
I don't
pictures,
even know
but you
if
could
I
tell
think I
people.
burned them all.
Well, I think your mom sent me a couple. Anyway.
I I but there's a part of me that's proud about this part of
Yes.
myself, of
It's no
course.
biggie.
I for 3 years, I had to wear a back brace 22 hours a day, and because I had, scoliosis and kyphosis, which is, super fun,
Mhm.
combo of the things. So my
Right.
spine is a fucking mess. But it's fine now because I wear a back brace.
And
But
you blinged it out with no effect stickers
I
and
blinged it out, it was from here and,
yeah.
like, all the way down there, and
Mhm.
I had braces, and, there was a period where that was hard. Kids can be mean.
Yeah.
So I think that, coupled with not being there all the time and then going to school and then everyone being like, "Oh, you're never here." I got pushed into trash cans. It was a lot. It was character building,
Do
as
you
I
remember
call it
names?
now.
First and
Oh, yeah.
last?
I remember all
You
all the
do?
names,
Let's get a pen.
but I will keep those to myself, and I do.
No,
They're like my
don't do
list
it.
that
Oh, yeah?
Aria
You wanna take
has.
care of it yourself? You can take care of it
Oh,
yourself.
I'll
I
take
don't need
care
to
of it
get involved.
myself.
You can handle it
I've already
yourself.
taken care of some.
I've seen you break a pool cue and run 15 huge dudes out of a bar. No, that's tough, that's tough.
Yeah, but it's fine. I mean, everybody
Did
goes
that
through it in
push
a
you
way.
away, though? Did that push you further away from wanting to be involved with other kids your age? Because you
Absolutely.
were already feeling disconnected, and then when you do come over,
Yeah, I
they're
think,
like, "You're weird."
as you know, I am a hermit, and extremely introverted.
Hmm.
And people always think that's a weird thing for an actor, but actually, no, most actors I feel are
Tons.
that way.
Tons.
But if I can trace it back, I think a lot of that probably comes from that time
Mm.
of, feeling weird about being around people my age
Hmm.
and have them not be so nice and wanting to. It's funny though. I also feel like that was the age that I learned self deprecation,
Mm.
where I was like, oh, I know how to combat this. I can make fun of myself as well and make everybody laugh.
Right.
So I can join in on the laughs of like,
Mhm.
yeah, haha, look how funny I look in this. Isn't it hilarious?
Yeah.
Which that's not healthy either. But it can all be traced back.
But you also just those things are what happen as a result of, that's what we do.
That's what we
That's
do.
what we do.
Yeah. But I'm also weirdly thankful for those years. Like I think it's that is so much of what happened makes me who I am today.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
because I would just be so confident and conceited, I'm sure, if I didn't go through that.
Favorite acting gig before you were 18? Let's consider let's see, we've got Wings, we've got Roseanne, we've got
wow.
What Women Want,
Um,
we've got uh, what are some of the other hits?
um, from the time I was little up until like about 17, I feel like with acting, it was just something that I did
It was
and
your
was a
job.
job.
It was your job, yeah.
But I feel like there was a certain point where I realized that I really, really liked it.
Mm. What was that?
And I did this independent movie called Nearing Grace,
Mhm.
and it's never seen the light of day. But I feel like it was such an incredible experience that it was a period piece. Took place in the 70s, and it was kind of like a high school movie. And I
Mhm.
feel like maybe that's why I liked it so much. But the rehearsal process was so fun, and I played piano, I sang in the movie. The part was she was, like, super weird, and I just felt really connected with the character, and, we shot it in Portland, and it was one of the first times that I went away to go do a movie myself,
Mhm.
without
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 parental.
parental guidance with me.
Yeah.
It was when I got Sully.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
So I was
right.
actually I was a
Portland. Oh,
little
yeah,
bit
'cause
older.
he
I
was
think I was 19. And so I think that's where it really clicked for me. And then I did a movie called Fast Food Nation.
Mhm.
And
Richard Linklater, one of the
yes,
greatest filmmakers out there, in my opinion.
so great. And that was also another amazing rehearsal process
Mm.
where I was with the director and the writer, Eric Schlosser, who's this incredible author and has written amazing books, Reefer Madness. He wrote Fast Food
Yes.
Nation and also wrote the script. And we had intense rehearsals for that.
Tell me about it.
Um, that was all of the scenes that we had that were on the page when we started the rehearsals with Richard Linklater and Eric Schlosser and Ethan Hawke was in the movie, and so it was kind of the four of us for a couple weeks just sitting in a room for a full day
Yeah.
and just talking about our characters and Richard being like, "Let's throw out these scenes, improv it.
Hmm.
Just what are your hopes and dreams, Ashley? What do you want to be when you grow up? Let's put that into the script." And from there, it was the first time where I was able to collaborate on something other than just sort of bringing a character to the table,
Mhm.
where it was so cool.
It's
Like
a
I
dream,
feel
right?
it
That's
was
what you want out
yeah.
of every project.
Acting is so great, but most of the time you're given something to do and you make everything that you can out of it, but not everything is going to be, the dream job, of
Mhm.
course, but that's okay. You still make it something fun.
Yeah.
That was really the first time where I was also like, "Oh, I can do more than just acting. I can have a say, and I can be like, 'Hey, what about this?' or 'What about this?'" And that was also a really cool adjustment.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can be a little more than just, what do you need me to do?
You can decide so much about what ends up on the screen
Yeah.
versus just following orders can get you one way, but you want to be a part of the creative process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those two movies in particular really stand out for me, not even necessarily because of what came out on the screen, but because of the experiences that they were.
Mm-hmm.
The Help was super fun,
Yeah.
but that was just a debaucherous time of I ate so much and
Hey, you're in the
it was
South.
party time.
You got to eat that food.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about your dad because he was a wonderful man.
Yes, he was.
And an old childhood friend of yours was here yesterday, and he was telling me awesome stories that I didn't know. And yeah, every couple of months, an old family somebody comes around with new stories, and it's cool. Or your mom will find an old videotape, or your stepdad will find an old videotape and send us stuff. Tell us what he did for a living. He traveled a lot because he was
did.
He was
Oh,
what?
God, I'm already getting emotional.
It's okay.
It's because I'm starting my period soon, guys.
Totally why.
um.
So your dad was a ship captain
Yes.
and of an exploratory vessel.
Yes.
What kind of
my
stuff
dad,
would he do?
he traveled all over the world and uh, everywhere. Like he went everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been cool. Like my sister and I and my brother, we kind of have this goal to. I mean, it would be so hard to travel to all of the places that he's been, but we have a goal to at least travel to some of them, at
Mhm.
least some that were his favorites. But he would go for work. He would go away and he'd be gone for 3 weeks at a time, but he would be home for 3 weeks or gone for a month and home for a month. And
And when he was home, he was home.
when he was home, he was
like,
home.
Yeah,
home.
that's
Like,
what everybody says.
yeah,
Mhm.
like I feel like the time that we got with him, like he passed away when I was almost 17. It
So
was
kinda
like a
right-
week from my 17th birthday, and still at 35, it affects me.
Of course.
And um, I feel like he was such an incredible dad, and it's that hole is still obviously
Mhm.
there, and but I'm so thankful for the time that I got him.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this with Travis because he passed away of cancer, and
Same as
it's
Travis's dad.
terrible disease, and it's but you do sort of get time with someone to talk with them when it's not a sudden thing. And we got my dad was diagnosed, and it was about a 6-month process before he ended up passing away. And we had so many conversations just about life and what his plans are for us and his hopes and dreams for us. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's a good guy. I feel like a lot of people ask me if they have someone or they know someone that has lost someone, and they're like, what do you say?
Mm. Mm.
And the most important thing, I think, is to just listen. And I think you have to tell stories about someone, or else that's what keeps them alive.
That's how yeah.
And I love talking about my dad. I've told you so many stories, and I wish you could have met him more than anything.
I was trying to remember which story I wanted you to tell today.
Oh, God, there's
Tell it funny.
so many.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, him and my mom, because my mom met him when she was 15.
Yeah, pretty young they met.
Yeah, and so they got married when, she was very young and he was very young too. And they had a very long marriage, but they were a great example of a marriage for us too,
Yeah.
as kids.
Yeah.
But he was so funny and he was so smart and vibrant and
Super good looking.
very good looking.
Very good looking man.
Yeah. But it's yeah.
Your parents were kind of practical jokers too, and pulling pranks on each other in a way that my parents are not like that at all. So it's so hard for me to imagine. Like there was a prank your mom tried to do where or you guys were playing a prank on your mom where one of the kids got kidnapped and then
Oh my God.
the cops
Yeah.
got called. It's like
Yeah.
this shit was
The two of them just loved playing jokes on each other, and they would do stuff that was so crazy. A lot of my dad, he had a very very colorful youth, and he partook in all of the
things.
all of the things. And so a lot of funny stories come out of that from his days of we had an open house of talking about stuff of like, what was acid like, Dad?
Yeah,
He would tell us all this stuff. But yeah, one of the things, we had my dad, my brother, and I were at home, and my mom and my sister had gone to the grocery store, and a family friend of ours dropped in, and she was like, "Hey, I just wanted to see you guys," because that's how our house was. Like people would just come over, and I wanted you guys to meet my new boyfriend. He's so great. And so they were just hanging out at the house, and my dad and our friend Lois, and they were like, let's play a joke on Nancy, which is my mom, when she gets home. And so they were planning it, and my dad's like, I got a good idea. Let's tie up Christopher, which is my brother, my dad's son. Let's tie him up in a chair. Let's duct tape his mouth, tie him up with rope, and put him in the laundry room so that when she walks in to from the garage, she's gonna think that the house has been broken into.
This is so fucked up.
It's terrible. This is the house that I grew up in. So we tied up my brother, duct taped him, like everything. He's like,
was he down for it? I don't remember. Was he?
Oh, of course he was down for it.
Yeah.
So her boyfriend, Lois's boyfriend, our family friend, since my mom had never met him, we were like, let's get him in on it. So my dad was like, let's have you holding the TV, like, down the hall so she sees that you guys are like trying to take stuff from the house. So my mom pulls in, we're like, okay, she's here. She walks in, opens the door, and then sees my brother like screaming. And then she sees Lois's boyfriend like down the hall, like how our house was, holding the TV, and he goes, "Oh shit, she's home!" And he starts screaming, like acting like he's cursing at somebody else that they need to leave. And my mom's screaming. She tells my sister to run and go to the neighbors and call the cops. So my sister goes to the neighbors, gets them to call the cops. The cops show up, and then my dad comes out. He's like, "No, stop! This was just a joke. It's okay. Everything's fine." So
I love the idea of explaining to the cops, I tied up my
no, it was a joke. We just tied up my
15-year-old
son. No big deal.
This guy who I just met is pretending to rob my house.
It's fine.
So that when my wife gets home, she shits her pants.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
was the home.
It was stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
That's the tamest one that I can tell.
That is. Do you remember what was the first voiceover thing you did?
First voiceover that I did was the cartoon version of Jumanji.
That's right.
Yes, and I played the little boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very young.
Yeah.
And then after that, I did Recess, and I played Gretchen Grundler.
Mm-hmm.
Very strongly identified with her.
Yeah, you did?
Yeah,
Why?
at the time.
Why?
Just because she was just like a nerd and wasn't the popular kid necessarily, but she took like her studying and her work very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So at least at the time, before I became a
rebellious
teen.
You didn't get that rebellious.
I
Just in
didn't.
attitude, not
Just
really
in
like-
attitude. I think, it's funny because you're like the whole goth thing. I feel like I got there, I feel like in like 16, 17, and especially after my dad passed away, I was like, no, everybody, I'm true goth.
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
I have deep sadness and darkness in my heart.
I know what you
So,
mean.
so I was like, all you motherfuckers are just going to Hot Topic. I feel the darkness inside.
I make this.
I make the darkness. I am the darkness. But I
Yeah.
think, at the time before, the world showed its true colors, I was like, no, this is me. I'm Gretchen Grundler,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was great. But
How much
Yeah.
different was that for you than doing on-camera stuff? Was it harder? Because you were also young too, but you had already been acting for so long.
No, it wasn't harder, it was I feel like when any actor starts doing voiceover, they're like, "Oh, this is a dream."
You'd show up in your pajamas.
Yeah, and it was super fun. I mean, especially on Recess. That was one of the cartoon shows of the time that they chose to use real kids,
Mm. Instead of having adults
instead of
do
having
the voices
adults
for
do the
kids.
voices,
Yeah.
except for Spinelli, who was played by Pamela
Pamela
Adlon,
Adlon, who we
who I
love,
love
yes.
so very much.
Yes.
But all the rest of us, we were kids,
Mhm.
and so it was just it was so fun.
Let's talk about The Last of Us Part 1, because that leads us to me, which is where we
does.
all want to be.
Yes.
Let's talk about the two sides of the coin.
Okay.
At the time that The Last of Us Part 1 was incepted into this world, I was living with our pal Troy Baker, working with him and doing some different stuff. You, I had never met, had no idea about, other than seeing you and stuff. And then Troy tells Travis and I that he got an audition for a Naughty Dog game. And I'm like, oh shit, because I had just played through Uncharted 1 and 2. And I was like, these people make some amazing games. I came to video games late in the world.
Okay.
As
Same.
you know,
Same.
as you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
we've talked about this. And I remember going over, reading your lines with him and going over all that stuff. I remember the True Religion jeans that he wore to the audition that Travis and I were like, you're going to wear that to your first Naughty Dog thing. Like, and then I remember him coming home that day and talking about how much you blew him away. So you had been cast in the game already,
Yes.
but they were auditioning Joels, and you auditioned with 100 Joels or something, right? Like 50.
I think it was probably, I don't know, anywhere from like 30 to 50.
And then when
Maybe
Troy
not as
came
many as
in,
50.
you were, and you've talked about this, you were like, whoa,
Yeah.
this dude kind of gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a process. I mean, there were a lot of people that came in that were super great but didn't have whatever that was that he
thing.
had.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because he was younger than a lot of the people that came in. But the guy who came in before him, people would know this actor very well.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I'm at the point in my life as an actor, it's best to just go for it and you go on impulse and you just see what happens in a scene.
Mhm.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you just go with it.
Mhm.
This guy had like a little bit of a chip on his shoulder when he came in. I just automatically didn't like him, so that's my fault in a
No.
way. So I think I was just feisty. So in the scene, when we were doing the scene, I can't remember which scene of the game that it is, but we were doing the scene and I'm like upset with him. And I guess I just didn't like him and I just shoved him. And we was just like, we were kind of yelling at each other and I shoved him and he shoved me back.
Mhm.
And I go back after him.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we're done with the fucking scene. I'm going to kill you. And then they were like, okay, stop. Neil and everybody, they're like, okay, let's start this over.
Uh-huh.
And, it wasn't going
Yeah.
well.
Not hard to say you
No.
guys didn't click.
No. So
Was that the same day as Troy?
that was the audition before.
So that was
Troy.
so you guys were doing
So
multiple,
that guy
yeah.
left and Troy walked in. And so I was just still like fucking ready to go. And he came in and he like walked over. He was like, hi, I'm Troy Baker. And he came over to me and was like, can I give you a hug? It wasn't like a weird thing.
No,
It was
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
you okay? Like, I think
Yeah.
he could just tell
You
I
could
was
pick
just,
up
like,
on the fact
amped.
you were like, yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And so he gave me a hug, just like completely diffused the situation. It was very paternal and it was really cool.
Mhm.
It was a really cool moment. And we did the scene and it was great.
Yeah.
And I think visually when you saw, especially Troy at the time and his pants and he had like frosty hair and he looked like a character out of Final Fantasy and he had all of it there, like everything, his voice that he was doing and just
He's able
how-
to put everything into his voice.
yeah,
It's crazy.
it's crazy. And he was so prepared and he was
Mhm.
off the page and we just connected and it was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
But that's the amazing thing with mocap is
Mhm.
it's you can play anything. I mean, I was playing a 14-year-old girl, and I started the game when I was
It was almost 9 years ago when you started that game, so you were about
oof,
27.
yeah. So, and I was playing a 14-year-old girl. So,
But
it doesn't
there's
matter what
right,
you look like
because of it's a video game.
because it's a video game.
There's so much Ellie in you, and there's so much of
Yeah,
you in Ellie, which is why I think you immediately clicked with that character. I think it's
definitely.
why Neil and Bruce and everybody at Naughty Dog was like, this is Ellie." Um,
Yeah. I think
yeah.
I think over the years, and especially with, because even working on the second game, like we've been working on it for over 4 years now. Even same with the first game, like it's the line between me and Ellie is very blurred,
Mhm.
and I like it that way.
Yeah, it's more fun for you to play characters that you have a little bit of,
Yeah, I think with Ellie specifically, and I think because I've played the character for so long, it's the character that I've felt closest to.
hmm.
It's I feel, I feel like we're one and the same. Like when I step into those shoes, I don't feel like I'm playing a character.
Hmm.
It's really weird. And I'm not saying that to be like, "Oh, I'm so amazing and so like method or whatever." I don't mean anything like that. I think it's because it's been so long and
It's an easy transition.
it's an easy transition because at this point I'm like, "Oh, this is just it's me if I took another path in my life
Mhm.
and or have gone through different
It's you if
experiences."
you had gone to high school.
It's me if I'd gone to high school. I think there are parts of me that are very I have a lot of anger in me. But, I'm working through these things, but I think it's a part
We
of
all
me
are,
that in my
darling.
yeah, I think in my I think with Ellie, I'm able to sort of use that in a weird way. I
Ellie
don't
gets
know.
to live in the angry place. You don't get to flesh out your anger in
Yeah.
that way because then I'd be dead and the house would be destroyed and you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's for you, you get to
Yeah.
get into that world
It's
and
great. I mean, I feel like with the first game, that was the first video game that I'd ever done.
Mhm.
So I didn't, and first, motion capture as well, where that alone, there's so much freedom in that. Like going from movies or TV where it takes so long to do one scene, and with mocap, it's so much like theater, where it's you get the scene in that moment. You don't have to wait for to turn the cameras around,
Mhm.
and it's
Everything moves faster and
it's
more
moved so
yeah.
much faster, and it's so freeing because
Mhm.
you at first it's a challenge because you don't have the way your character looks.
No costume,
No costume
no
and
makeup, no,
yeah.
set props.
Yeah. So sometimes I think as an actor it can get dangerous with that because you can just lean on that. But I feel like with mocap, it's like you have to take all of that away and just go for it in a set that's not there. Everything
Mhm.
is make believe with what you're drinking and it's
You also don't have your eyes,
yeah.
which is a big thing for an actor, and something I've really learned from you is watching you do you just have your body and your voice.
Yeah.
You know, they animate your face and they capture it. They have all the cameras on, they have all the dots and all the stuff. But, in video games, they don't use
Yeah.
they can't, put
They
a thing on
can't
your
your
eye and
eyeballs.
exactly do that thing. They
Yeah.
do an amazing job with it, especially the Naughty Dog team, but it's hard. It's
They
gotta be
do.
so hard. I talk to all you guys about it all the time because it's
Yeah.
so fascinating, so weird. It would be hard for me to do this show without this set and environment. And if you put me in like a
Yeah.
suit that makes me look all weird with a bunch of balls all over it.
Yeah. It's weird. But I think it's a good challenge as an actor to sort of keep stripping stuff away because you learn that the external parts of your character are not things that you should lean on anyway.
Mm.
But I think with this game in particular and this experience, I feel like as an artist in any form, painter, musician, whatever, you never know how capable you can be. Like you always hope that there's more.
Mm.
Like you do something and you're like, I feel like I can do better. You don't really know,
Right.
but
But
you
you have that
feel like you
feeling. Yeah,
can.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I feel like with this game, with the first game, we did so much stuff where it became a new measurement for me, where I was like, oh, I didn't know I could get there emotionally
Mm.
and do that.
You had to go to some places for that game.
Yeah. And I was like, this is so crazy that this is happening on a video game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was because everything was stripped away and I had to sort of find it without all that.
Yeah,
And that game changed the game.
it did. It changed all the games.
And so
Man, I remember Troy coming home and just telling me stories about working with you, and that's where that's why I wanted to meet you so bad because he would always say like, "Dude, I got my ass kicked today by Ashley in the scene." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, what happened?" He's telling me like, I watched him grow as an actor from working with you, which was so funny too because for him that's his stage. You know, he's the
Yeah.
mocap video game guy. You're
Yeah.
coming in from TV and film, and you know you did voiceover, so you understood that. But this was a whole other thing, and it was cool to see him grow so much. You obviously grew a ton, but I didn't know you then yet.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was cool to see what he would take away from those days with you and go like, man, I'm now thinking about this on such a deeper level because of what she brought to the table. And I'm like, well, she sounds fucking awesome. I gotta fucking meet this girl.
Well, I learned so much from him because he was so experienced
Mhm.
with um,
VO and
video
video games
games.
and mocap and all that.
But also, you know, there's a like as an actor, it is hard, and I think anybody in life, it's hard to connect your emotions to your voice sometimes.
Hmm.
And I feel like he taught me that of how to sort of let that come out and be stronger or, whatever it needs to be because you can't rely on your eyes.
Yeah.
So you have to have it come out in your voice, which can be really hard to do. I learned so
Mhm.
much from him.
Yeah.
On top of that, I got to meet you.
Well, tell people
Troy.
how that happened. Wait, take a sip first.
Okay. While we were working on the game, he would talk about you every once in a while, and then he was talking about your book.
Mm-hmm.
I ordered,
Whatever, yeah. While that
yes,
was going on.
I ordered your book off of Amazon, and I read it in a day.
Ooh.
I still have the picture that I sent to Troy took a picture of it, and I sent it to him, and I was like, I got that book from that guy you were talking
Oh, I
about.
know, because he showed me. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
no.
I
Why'd you
read.
tell her about that book?
Yeah, I read a lot.
You do read a lot.
So I
Yeah,
think I
you
was
read
just
a
like,
ton.
any recommendation? Sure, I'll read that.
Mhm.
Sounds great. So I read it and I was like, oh my God, this guy's an incredible writer. And so got to work and we talked about it and talked about you. But that was it. There was nothing.
Well, I was in a relationship at the time, so it wasn't
That's
really.
right, as was I.
We weren't like no one was thinking.
wasn't anything like that.
No one was
No.
thinking that. I was thinking a little bit of that, but only because he was coming home with all these awesome stories about you, and I was watching clips of stuff, and I'm like, holy shit. I was also learning about how video games were being made at that point too, so all of it
Yeah.
was fascinating. But that's an excuse. I wanted to see videos of you. And then eventually, yeah. So my side of it was I heard that he's like, dude, Ashley that I'm working with is she bought your book or whatever. I tweeted at the wrong Ashley, the other
Okay.
Ashley in the game,
Ashley Scott.
Ashley Scott,
Yes.
who
plays Maria.
in
Mhm.
Last of Us Part 1. I back then accidentally tweeted at her and said, like, I heard you bought my book. Thank you so much. If you ever want to just like let me know what you think, let me know. And then Troy was like, it's the wrong Ashley, you idiot. And I was like, oh shit. But then I never tweeted you because then I was just too ashamed. And then I was like, why am I tweeting this anyway? I'm just like putting it out there. And then fast forward to Troy's wedding.
Yep.
I saw you at the rehearsal dinner and I was like, oh, fuck. That's her. And I was single. And I was
Ready to
like,
mingle,
yeah. And I was
but
like,
you did not mingle with me.
here's the problem. I asked 250 people. There was about 200 people there. I asked
Okay.
250 people to introduce me to you. And all of them said, no, you just go walk up and talk to her. I'm not going to introduce you to her. The other problem we had was nobody there knew you. You
Yeah,
didn't know Travis and Laura at that time.
I
You
did
didn't know
not.
Mary. You didn't know
Oh, it's
any
so
of these
weird to think
people.
about.
You didn't know any of them.
Yeah.
So the rehearsal dinner goes by. I can't bring myself to go talk to you. It was too, you had this, you just, I couldn't do it. I was weak. I was weak and scared. And the next day was the wedding. Troy and his lovely wife, Pam, graciously asked me to read a poem from that book in
Yes.
their wedding.
I know exactly what poem it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. I saw you before, couldn't say anything. Mary's like, dude, you got to go talk to her. I said, nah, I'm good. I'm good. She'll come to me. No, I didn't think that. And then after the wedding, after the ceremony, I went up to you and I was like, do you remember the first thing I said to you? I said, I was like, I'm Brian. I think you read my book. It's the
Yeah.
douchiest, it's the douchiest opening line. I didn't know what else to say. I was just trying to put a point of connection
Of
together.
course. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't being
Yeah.
arrogant and saying,
No, no.
because I sold dozens of
Yes.
books, you know, I had every right to be arrogant. But I came up and I was
Yes, I
was
remember.
very
Yeah.
nervous. And you were so sweet. You were so like nervous just to be talking to anybody, not because I looked amazing. I was wearing this awesome black suit. I had no beard.
You
I
did,
had this
you did. You
amazing
look great.
hair at the time. I was about 20 pounds, 25 pounds lighter than I am now,
Yeah, you were.
maybe more. All I did was smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. That's all I did.
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't eaten in weeks. Meals are for weak people. Meals are for people who need them.
I
And then
changed that very quickly.
yes, you did. Thank God. But I remember talking to you, and I remember we were going back and forth, and then for some reason you just walked away.
I did?
You just fucking walked away. It wasn't like you walked away in the middle of me saying something. It wasn't like there was a lull where we were out of shit to say. I just remember you just
I'm so awkward.
you got so awkward and you just like left.
I was like, that was weird. I'm leaving.
I went back
pulled
to
the
the
chute.
I went back to the table of all the people that had made me go talk to you, who were
Oh,
all
no.
sitting there watching from 20 yards away at how everything went down. I went back, and of course, all of my friends said, "What did you say?" She just walked away from you. I'm like, I don't know. I said a lot of stuff. I was really nervous. She's gorgeous in person. Like, Jesus Christ. You try going up and talking to her. Everybody's like, I'm not talking to her.
Oh my God.
And
I
then
don't know why I walked away.
but then you hung out, and then I was like, should I go back up? I mean, the first time didn't go great. Should I go back up and say something?
Well, we were also sitting across from each other.
Oh, at the dinner, we ended up sitting
ended up
across
sitting
from each
across
other.
from each other,
Yes,
which I
that's
think
right.
helped me
That
sort
helped.
of
Get
relax
used
your
to
size
me.
and get used to you. And
I had a few one-liners that seemed to do pretty well.
yeah, it all did pretty great.
It also helped that we had this whole connection with Troy, and I was,
Yes.
his roommate at the time, and we're all so
Yeah.
close. And then I went up after, and we kept talking, and then I asked you for your number, and you said no, and you gave me your email address instead. And it was one bad sign after another. I should have.
Well, because I hate talking on the phone.
I know,
was
I
like,
do
"That's
too,
not
though,
gonna
and that's
work."
where, because I said I hate talking on the phone too, and you're like, yeah, nobody hates it as much as I do. I'm like, well, fine, I'll email you.
Little did you know how true that is.
And then that night, I remember Mary and everybody telling me, like, I was like, I got her email. And then it was like half my friends were like, you got to do it. I'm like, no, it all went bad. She walked away. And then when I went up, she was like, I don't know. And then, she did laugh at my jokes, but let's be honest, everybody laughs at my jokes. That's not enough of an indicator.
That's true.
And then I asked her for a number. I know it's a bit early. I just met her an hour ago. And then, I had some people tell me, like, no, you got to do the thing where you wait like 2 weeks, and you make her sweat, and all that kind of weird shit. I emailed you that night when I got home.
I got the email when I
might
got
have been in
home.
the car.
Yeah.
I might have been in the car on the way
Yeah.
home. I was like, can we hang out? Let's just hang
But
out.
I loved
sometime.
it because we emailed every day.
We emailed every day after that for
Until
like
we-
I think it was 2 weeks till we actually
Yeah.
got together.
And like these great emails because I feel like for me, I have
still
such
have
an
all of them.
easier time
Yeah, right.
communicating
expressing
through
feeling.
writing.
Yeah.
And, I'm working on my communication skills through
At
words.
the time, though.
But at the time, I was like, that's why I gave you my email because I was like, it's not going to be a good idea to give him my number because I'm
Yeah.
just going to be like, hi,
mm-hmm.
okay.
Mhm.
So it's, yeah.
It was an interesting thing of what it did to to actually my, at the time, friends group, of bringing you into it.
Yes.
Because not only did you fit in so well with Mary and Travis and Laura and Troy and everybody, like everybody took to you right away. It was like you had belonged in this weird world the whole
Yeah.
time. And I had come along knowing all these voice actors for 10 years,
Yeah.
not being one, but being around them and being in this world.
Yeah. I think I say it all the time, and whenever I talk about Last of Us, that game absolutely changed my life,
Hmm.
for creative reasons, but mostly because of outside of the game, because of meeting Troy and becoming friends with Troy and becoming friends with Pam and meeting you and going to their wedding, meeting you and meeting Travis and Laura and Mary and like because, when you met me, I was I don't think people understand
Help them understand.
the like I was a true hermit.
Hmm.
Like to the point where it wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
Like I really
You were a little
it
Howard
was
Hughes
very
there for a
yeah,
bit. There were jars of pee lining the house. Your beard
only a
had
couple.
grown out,
But
and
yeah, my beard had grown out.
your fingernails were this long.
Yeah. But I feel like you guys pulled me out of a lot.
Hmm.
And I think you specifically. Oh no, I'm crying again. I think it's I think I would have stayed in that place. And
I was the opposite. I was
you
the
were the
super
opposite.
social one with all the friends and always
Oh my
wanting to
god,
hang
when
out and do. I was doing stuff every night back
yeah,
then.
you would go out and you would see people all the time and you were so extroverted and I was like this is never going to work. But I think I tried to at least meet you a little bit where you
You
were at.
did, and and it helped that Travis and Laura and everybody so quickly was like, "No, your hermit days are over."
Yes.
That you've met us and you're with Brian and we're all a part
Yeah.
of this thing now, your hermit days are over.
Yeah.
But it's so true what you said about Last of Us because that game will forever be this thing that it's like you look. I thought about this the other day because I had never really put the whole thing together, but I was thinking about it because someone was asking me about it. You have Troy and I and Travis and Laura were our next door neighbors at the time, and this whole thing,
Yeah.
you're doing this whole thing. Last of Us comes along, and then Last of Us introduces you to me, Travis and Laura.
Yeah.
Obviously, more video game people. That whole world. We start dating a year in, maybe. You get a call about joining a D&D game, a
Well,
home game,
so
because it was you.
this
Oh,
was the thing.
spooked.
No.
What?
Troy Baker's his 40th birthday when we had the Game of Thrones birthday party.
No, that wasn't his 40th.
Well,
But I know what you mean. Yeah, the Game of Thrones one would have been
the
like
Game of
his
Thrones.
36th birthday or something like that. Yeah.
I apologize.
Well, I just didn't want people to think he's
Of
older
course,
than
of
he
course.
is. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. So whatever birthday, I feel like it was such a momentous occasion.
We had a Game of Thrones themed birthday party
But
for
it
Troy
was
Baker
like
at Mary Elizabeth's house. Yeah,
it was
all out.
all out.
Hmm.
Um, I
Laura
was
Bailey doesn't
talking
fuck
to
around.
Liam that night, and he was like, "Hey, do you play D&D?" And I was like, "No, I've never played it." But I was like, "My brother did," and I was like, "I've always been kind of curious about it," and so we just had a little conversation about it, and that was the first. I mean, the trail of things that happened from Last of Us is so fucking crazy.
Weird, huh?
The very first home game, because I still didn't know everybody that well.
No, not at all.
I knew Travis and Laura.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Liam because Liam also did a lot of voice directing on Last of Us.
He did. He was, yeah.
He was actually he taught me how you're supposed to sound when you scream when you're catching on fire.
Yes, the proper burning sound.
Yes, and
So he asked that night, but then
he
the
asked
game
that
started.
night- the game started the very first game that they played, or because I didn't know about the first game.
Yeah.
And then I think Travis or Laura had talked to me and they were like, you gotta come play. And I was like, okay, which at the time, and as you know, was a huge deal.
I was so excited.
Because I
Because you
think I was
never
getting a
did
little
stuff
bit more
like that.
confident with hanging out with people and
Yeah.
just hanging out in general
Mhm.
with more than one person. And I was like, okay. But I think I felt somewhat comfortable because it was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't like, oh, we're gonna go to a party or we're gonna go to a
Mhm.
club or
Mhm.
not that anything is wrong with those things, but that's not
Not
my
your style.
comfortable zone.
Yeah,
I'll have a great time if I go, but
you do.
um, it's not my comfortable zone.
Mhm. This was different.
Yeah, and then I ended up going to the second game that they played, and I just remember Matt. I've talked to Matt before, and I was emailing with him, and he's like, "Here's what's left of what you can play. You can play cleric. What else was left? There was a couple of other things,
Yeah, I
obviously, that were
remember
left.
you telling me because you were
But he only gave me a
explaining to
list of
me
2,
the
and I was like,
classes, and I was like,
"Yeah."
"What the fuck does any of
So
this mean?"
yeah, and I was like,
Yeah.
"I'll play a cleric because I don't know, I'll just give this a try."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "I'll be a gnome." I don't know because that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And I went to the game, and everybody was like doing voices and in character, and I was like, "Holy shit! Okay, okay, okay."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was hooked.
Yeah. You came home like you had just done heroin for the first
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And I was
I
like,
had a cousin who
"Oh,
tried it, so I knew what
sure,
that
sure, sure,
reaction
sure.
was.
Of
Yeah,
course, I knew what you
yeah,
meant.
yeah.
You
You
told
knew
me
what
that."
yeah, I told you about your cousin.
Um,
Yeah,
I was
that was
hooked.
a game changer for you.
Yeah,
But it also too showed you, and I remember saying this to you at the time, that it showed you what like stuff you could miss out on if you
yeah.
yeah,
Like
because
I
I lived
think it.
many years of my life like that. A lot of my 20s was the hermiting that you were going through in your late 20s. I
Yeah,
did that for all of my drug years. And so I had
yeah,
known that thing, and I knew the only remedy for that was relationships with people that would not only meet you where you were at, but that could help you just like not bully that transition from being super introverted and just hanging out home all the time to like going out and doing stuff. And like I knew that that group of people, you were in such good hands. I would get so excited because you guys only played once a month. It was so hard to
yeah.
schedule
It's
getting
hard to
everyone
schedule.
together. Imagine. I
Yeah.
think
So
about
we
that
would
back
when we
then.
would play, we would have
8 hour,
these games would be so long, and so I would get home at,
3, 4 in the morning.
yeah.
Try to explain to me what
And I was
happened in
like,
the
"Oh my
game.
god, it was so crazy." And you're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I'm kinda going to
I'm
bed." And
like,
I was like, "Oh my god, it was just so nuts."
uh,
But it filled something in me that I feel like nothing has been able to sort of fill that, whatever
Mhm,
that is.
mhm.
And it's crazy to say that it's Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. I know, but it's true.
But
Everybody
it's
said
just
the
like,
same thing
but
in
it's
your
also,
chair.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the I think because it's community based, and I feel like a lot of people in this community, and even people that we meet at cons or things like that, where we're all the fucking same.
Mhm, yeah,
Like, we're
yeah.
all people that are kind of like have a lot of shit that, we're all like a little introverted and a little weird, and we
Mhm.
get in this world and we're like, oh, this is where we're comfortable.
Yeah, it's
It's
true.
fine to play, like, I feel comfortable playing another character that sometimes gets to do things that are kind of cool or not so cool, or you get to sort of,
And it's a longer character arc than
it's a,
any other project.
yeah,
It's like doing 5 seasons it's like doing 5 seasons of a show or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when we started I mean, our home games went on for, obviously, everybody knows
Couple of
this,
years.
a couple years before we started streaming it. But when we started streaming was right when I left New York.
It was right when you left.
Yeah.
At some point, your day job will die down,
Yes.
and you'll be back at that table. You'll be back in this building.
Yes.
What the hell do you make of all of this? It's thinking about that moment. Thinking about back to when Felicia was like, "Hey, would you guys be
Yeah,
down to
it's
stream
so
this game?"
crazy. I
To
think,
now.
yeah, I was working with Felicia on a web series that she produced
Spooked.
called Spooked,
Mhm.
and that was a blast to shoot. And she knew about the D&D game already. And she was like, "Would you guys be down to stream it? We're kind of trying to do that on our channel." And
Word had
um,
gotten out that a bunch of legendary voice actors had started
yes,
a D&D
yeah.
game together.
I was like, "Oh, I don't know. We can all discuss it." And I know Matt was talking with her as well. And a couple people came out to watch our game, and it ended up being like, it was like a shopping episode. I think
You're
we
like,
had gotten
"Great."
I think we had gotten our, like, the Grayskull Keep, and we were, like, putting shit like, figuring out where our beds were or something.
Mhm.
I can't it was something where
That
it was
whole
like,
episode.
"Sorry, this is, like, not exactly how it is," but, but off of that game, they were like, "I think we could do this." But it's hard to present and stream D&D because it's long form. It's not just like watching an hour show. It's
Mhm.
it's
It's
can be 3 to 4 hours long once a week, and
yeah.
that's it's a lot of content. So I
Mhm.
think we were a little nervous of like, how's this going to work? And there's a lot of us, and
Yeah.
they wanted to do it, and we did it. And, walking around this studio, I mean, since I've been home, every time it changes. And, on this break that I've been home, I'm just so proud of everybody.
Mhm.
Like, it's such an intense feeling of gratitude for the people that have watched and have been with us along the way and have been responsible for getting us to this place. And just all the hard work that, like, everybody here does, and
Yeah.
the fact that we have people that work here that we all love so much.
Mhm.
I love
And that
you.
like work.
And
Yeah.
that like working here, and at least I hope you guys do. But I think that was a big thing when we sort of, started this. If we have a place and we make this and we're going off on our own and making our own content, we hope that people who work with us will enjoy being here and are proud to work here. And I hope it continues to stay that way.
You
And
haven't asked them about me, or you haven't been
I
going
don't
around
talk to them
asking
about
people.
you specifically because it's mm,
You know what they're gonna say.
yes, but everyone else is pretty
They're gonna
solid.
say, "You know how he is,
Yeah.
Ashley. You know how he is."
Yeah, but I can't wait to see even more where this
Mhm.
goes. And I can't
Yeah.
wait to sort of jump in and be even more a part of it.
Mhm.
Because it's been weird watching it a little bit from afar, being involved, but also leaving
It
when it's
sucks.
happening. And
Yeah.
yeah, and jumping back into the table. It's fucking weird.
It's hard,
It's
yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
It's harder than a lot of people think because it's a group of people that play every week, and they are fine tuning their role playing skills.
Mhm.
And then I hop in and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And it's very apparent. Like, I've seen episodes and I'm like, oh yeah, I was like trying to keep up. But it's I
You
go back
always
to
find
those
your way back in,
moments.
though. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys all always find your way
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Okay, one more sip.
Okay.
Make it count. I know you have to go because you're a very busy woman, but
I'm a very busy woman.
I can't let you out of here without we have to touch on, because we can't fully discuss. So let's touch on The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
Only because you're in the weeds there right now.
I'm in the weeds.
When does that come out, by the way? I keep writing on your
I think it's
Instagram
coming out
every time you post a photo of a wonderful child playing in a field or a puppy. The comments are
When's the Last of Us 2 coming
people
out?
fucking attacking you
Yeah.
for not, because obviously you are the one who picks the release date for the game, right?
Yes, it's only me that chooses, which
So
is totally crazy.
Ellie's a little bit older. We know that. We know that some
We do.
time has passed. From the trailer, we see
Yeah.
she's older. I hear people ask you, like, was it hard to slip back into the character between the two games? But there was a couple of months between you working on the DLC for Left Behind and you starting work on Part 2. It wasn't
Yeah.
really,
There wasn't a big
there was
there
no
wasn't a
2
big leap.
years that went by. It's not like, it wasn't that kind of a gig.
No. No.
But instead, you have to imagine this character however many years later, and
Yeah.
you and Neil sit there and think about what happened in those years.
Yes.
That way you know where she's
Yeah.
going to be right now, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this game to come out. Getting to jump into these shoes again of this character it's it's a huge treat for me,
Mhm.
obviously. But I think in this game in particular because um can't say
I know
that.
what you're saying. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
to start. I think it's to work in this world again and to work with Neil Druckmann, who is the writer and director of the game. I love working with him because it's this whole process is so collaborative.
Mhm.
And for Neil, there's a little part of him that's a little bit of Ellie, and for me,
Mhm.
both of us are the two of us, I don't think there's anybody else that is more protective of this character.
No.
And
No. Yeah.
and to play a character that is gay is massively important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And wanting to portray that in the best way
Mm-hmm.
and just it's
You
I'm
guys
trying
have
to think of what I can say, but it's I'm
no, yeah, you
so
guys have put
excited
in
for this
hours
game.
on
Yeah.
making sure this thing is. 'Cause there's so much expectation. There's so much hype.
There's a
There's
lot
all
of
the stuff that comes
yes.
with following up any big thing like that game was. The sequel to a
Yes.
movie, another season of a TV show, whatever it is. There's always that stuff. What's made this experience the last Ash, you've been working on a game for like
I
over
know.
5 years. This part two, like
Yeah.
it's been literally.
And it's been, it's a big game
Hmm.
and a lot of it has been me coming home from New York and sometimes shooting on weekends
Hmm.
or when we get a moment we shoot it and they are really fine tuning every little moment in the game.
Yes.
And it's
Caring about each thing, like
yeah.
not that they didn't before, obviously they
No,
did, but
but
with this game, it's like everyone wants part two. Everyone wants part two. Everyone wanted part two the day part one came out, and so then it's like, how do you protect that thing? And watching you guys do that over the last 5 years of constantly going back to like, this is
yeah.
Ellie. She's got to stay true to this thing, and Joel's got to stay true, or whoever's
Right.
got to stay true to this thing. Like the game, the heart of the game, the whole thing has to stay. And watching you guys fight for that has been cool. Not oh, we got to meet everyone's expectations. Oh, there's all
Yeah.
this fear that it's not going to live up. There's all this hype that it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Like, where do we go? Fuck all that noise. This is what I care about.
Yeah. There is, of course, a lot of pressure because the first game was very well received.
Mhm.
And it's hard not to feel that.
Yeah.
But I feel like Neil especially is really good at tuning that out and saying, "You know what? I know people have a lot of opinions on this thing, but this is the story that I want to tell."
Hmm.
And we talk about every scene before we shoot it and it's this particular game we've shot stuff that emotionally and like mentally and physically I've never done in my life.
Hmm.
And I've come home with the bruises and like the just like physically exhausted from it and
And emotionally.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's you can only hope that people will love something as much as you do. Like when we make stuff and like
Mhm.
all the stuff that we do here and the stuff that you work on and especially the stuff that you care about. Like you want everybody to like it
Hmm. Hmm.
and you want everybody to love it as much as you do, which is an impossibility. But I think the story that we're telling in this next game is real and true to the character and
The world.
the world that it is and I can't fucking wait.
Yeah. When's it come out again?
It's going to be 3 years from now.
February 31st?
Yeah.
October 32nd?
Yes, October 32nd of
Okay, I was lying. One last sip.
2026.
One last sip. I was
Okay.
lying. Ashley Johnson, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having
I
me.
normally do this big formal ending where I, spend some time trying to compliment the guest, and I really fluff them up and tell them how much their work has meant to me. But since it's you, I'm
take off your jacket
I'm
and
gonna
just
kick back
relax.
a little bit.
Take off your shoes.
I'm just gonna
Is this your Mr. Rogers moment?
Yeah, here, make some room for me. Let's finish this.
Come on.
Let's finish this pineapple, shall we?
Let's
What are you
finish
doing after this? Do you want to get some?
You want to take off my shoes?
Yeah, you want to take off your shoes? Do you want to get some food? Do you want to
Yeah.
maybe go-kart racing?
I feel like since feels like it's still morning, we should go get our favorite breakfast burrito.
Oh, that's a good idea. There's so much hype leading up to this. You want to talk about Last of Us 2? The hype leading up to this interview has been insane because it's taken
It's
so
too
long.
much hype.
But now that what the fuck is going on here?
I don't think I wore good
No, I
socks.
did a piss poor job of doing this.
No, you did a great. These are very hard boots to take off.
And Invented in the 1970s at the Aviary in Kuala Lumpur, the Jungle Bird originally called for a whopping 4 ounces of pineapple juice. It wasn't until New York's Giuseppe Gonzalez dialed it back to 1.5 ounces and subbed blackstrap rum in place of the generic dark rum that this drink leveled up. Achievement unlocked. The recipe we use here splits the base with 2 styles of rum, a now frequent approach to the drink. In the world of Critical Role, we imagined Pike Trickfoot got a taste for rum while seafaring on the Broken Howl, cause she's a rumster. In Exandria, this drink might be found on the menu at Dalen's Closet in the Bay of Gifts. Here's what you'll need for this drink. Blackstrap rum, a nice Jamaican or Venezuelan rum, Campari, fresh pineapple juice, fresh lime juice, and simple syrup. We're going to shake and strain this drink, so we'll be using our shaking tins and our Hawthorne strainer. You can serve this drink in a large rocks glass, a chilled tiki mug, or go big with the hollowed out pineapple. First, we'll add 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, 1/2 ounce of lime juice, 3/4 ounce of Campari, 1 ounce of pineapple juice, 1 ounce of Venezuelan rum, and we'll finish with 1 ounce of blackstrap rum. Then we're gonna add ice to our large tin, pour the ingredients over, and shake. Strain over ice into your vessel of choice. Today we chose pineapple. We're going to put the top on, grab a couple of straws, and if you're feeling extra turnt, take a lime, add some overproof rum to it. Be careful when trying this at home. There you have it, a Jungle Bird. Tastes like juicy charred pineapple and pancakes with bitter orange and vanilla. This sweet and strong tiki sour occupies a subgenre it wrote for itself. Be careful not to light your hairpiece on fire. Thank you so much for watching Between the Sheets. New episodes are uploaded to YouTube on Wednesdays, and if you want to watch the show live, it airs at 7 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/Critical Role. Thanks for joining us.